Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a segment we'd like to call OAF Reviews. Title still a work in progress. I'm your host for this evening, Webb, Mr. Webb, Thoroughbred Webb, whichever way you know me as. With me tonight is Mr. Brent.
Howdy-o.
And
How y'all doing, everybody?
everybody's hopefully chilling. What I wanted to
I
do,
hope so.
what I wanted to do is we couldn't include Kid Swift into this because he did not see Justice League last weekend like we did. And so I wanted to kind of talk a little bit as spoiler free, but at the same time maybe toss some spoilers near the end to kind of give folks a warning ahead of time in case we just have to say something that happened and go from there. And then maybe give a little rating or a recommendation by the end of it. Does that sound cool with you?
Sounds great.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay, so as far as watching that movie, my mindset, I mean, as with any cinematic universe, you have to compare it to previous movies before it and go from there. And I'm not gonna lie, I was leery watching this movie compared to the other movies that Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman breaking the combo, and then here we are with Justice League, and this is kind of going like, okay, did they take notes from Wonder Woman? Are they still on the same path of Batman v Superman? Because they started filming Justice League almost immediately after Batman v Superman. So, did they learn their lesson? Did they, as far as the reshoots, what happened? What's going on? How much was redone? All these questions going into the theater. I mean, and you should have shut your brain off at some point. But it's what did you? What were your thoughts going into this?
So, now, after Batman, Superman, and before Wonder Woman, I was very leery. And then you start hearing about the reshoots, stuff like that. Like, I was extremely leery. I was like, how are they going? Because basically, when you think of Justice League, in my mind, I'm like, basically, I'm putting them on the same level as the Avengers. Like, I want quality of movie as the Avengers. And I know that's kind of wrong to do that, but that's the only, you know what I'm saying? That's the only, like, big team-ups like that in Guardians of the Galaxy. So, in my mind, I'm like, okay, it at least has to be a certain level. And then, as Wonder Woman came out, and I seen how they did Batman vs. Superman, I seen how they did that, and then Wonder Woman had her own set movie, which ended up blowing my socks off. When I finally just shut my brain off and was like, you know what? I think I'm going to like the Justice League movie as long as they take the best parts of each thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, Batman killing people, like Batman being like the more raw Batman, like him beating up people, killing people, I like that Batman because he's more vulnerable. It's kind of like, I'm not going to use other movie reference, but I like him being more vulnerable. Kind of he's like the Daniel Craig of James Bond's, like Ben Affleck is. Like, he's more vulnerable. He gets hurt more. He gets his butt whooped quite more often than any other Batman, stuff like that.
And you can tell that, like, in the movie, they hinted about him doing the Batman thing for 20 years, and you can kind of see it as far as, like, like he's still athletic and stuff like that, but you can tell, like, all that Batman is taking a toll on his body, and it looks like he's, like, on some borrowed time almost.
Yeah, and that's what I do like. Like, he projects a different feel of Batman, not one that Batman's like 100% in control, and like, because normally Batman's like the top dog in every fight, right?
Damn near.
Even when he's like outmatched typically by physical strength or whatever, like he's always a step ahead, two steps ahead, this and that.
About as convenient like as the writers make him, as far as Deus Ex Machinas and all that stuff. We'll get into that later on as far as Justice League, but yeah, Batman can pretty much do everything that the writers can think of, almost like super. Yeah,
pretty much. And then this is like that first time we're getting a Batman who's like, he knows his limitations. Like, not even that. He's past his limitations, and now you see this Batman trying to like focus on what he does extremely well, which could be good or bad, or you know what I'm saying. Like, he's not picking the run up straight up in the fight. You know what I'm saying? He's taking the, all right, I can do this mission or that mission, take care of that. I might have to put my body on the line, make that sacrifice. So that's my thoughts on Batman. But overall, I turned my brain off going into the movie and was just hoping for the best.
And as far as hoping for the best, did that meet that expectation?
Um, yes. We're you said a ranking system later on down the road.
Yeah, we could do
I'm
that.
stuck. I'm stuck in between mixed feelings of when I walked out, I was like, this is a good movie. When I sat and processed everything, I was like, that movie was alright. But like in a positive way, but I was like, it's alright.
Okay.
So I don't know. Did you feel something similar to that or
I enjoyed it. The wife enjoyed it. As for what it was, there was still some. I mean, granted, there's some flaws, and for them to have such a low bar set, I kind of feel bad. But at the same time, it's just like it exceeded that low ass bar. It wasn't even like a hurdle. It was pretty much just like it wasn't even a hurdle. It was just like
a speed bump?
like a step on a right before you get on the like one step on the stoop.
Oh wow. I didn't give them that low. Like they still had to bring it, which is why I think part of me when I left the movie was like, "Oh, this was good." And then when I sat back like the next day, I was like, "All right, now my bar's in place." All right, because of some of those flaws that we're going to talk about, stuff like that.
Yeah. So as far as when we were talking about earlier with the reshoots, you can tell as far as like Joss Whedon taking over as far as helping out with the reshoots and helping out with the dialogue. He's credited as a writer in the movie, but he's not credited as a director, which, kind of like, I was like good on him as far as like him not trying to take credit for it. We kind of had the discussion earlier on a podcast episode. I want to say it was like Rompin' Road Rage, if I remember. But it's funny
that sounds right.
as I mentioned on the podcast this past week or this week, excuse me. I mentioned how you can tell it's Zack Snyder's plate, but you can tell that there's Joss Whedon's seasoning on the plate.
Yeah.
Like you can definitely tell, especially when it comes to certain dialogue, what exactly is a Joss Whedon type of dialogue and a Joss Whedon type of joke. And I kind of, as far as it being sprinkled in there, there was some good there was some good jokes on there. There were some good points in where the comedy didn't undercut the drama. There were some good parts as far as the comedy being right before things get serious and it being well placed. And then there was also some parts.
Oh, yeah.
There was also some parts like in the ending where everyone's joking and all that other stuff after victory, and it's just kind of like, okay, y'all could have dialed that back a little bit.
Yeah, I forgot all about that little scene. I was thinking in my head, Aquaman's little supposedly big moment.
Oh, his confession.
I'm not going to try to spoil, but let's just say he was surfing. He was body surfing out there.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, that wasn't a spoiler. That was literally in the trailer, so you're good to go.
Oh, that was? Okay. So, yeah, him body surfing, I was wondering how that was going to play out in the movie. And that, what'd you think about that?
Some of the action was pretty well done, I feel like. There was definitely some parts where they got to really let loose, especially with these overpowered type of characters, such as Aquaman or Wonder Woman or Flash, who looks like he's still learning his powers, but still, for him to be able to do what he does and is like kind of making a spectacle of it. I'd say that the action was pretty good in most places. The CGI is probably what would have like detracted from some of them action sequences.
Okay.
I feel like they probably could have worked on it or put a little bit more time into the CGI. Whether I don't know if it was involving like pushing the release date back or whatever was needed, but yeah, they definitely could have worked more on the villain Steppenwolf, the parademons, and
so I was thinking that too. I was like, he could have been like this amazing villain, like as just a one-off villain. Like he could have been an amazing villain, or even like a stepping stone villain to a bigger villain. Like
which he kind of is.
Something. I mean, yeah, but most. I'm trying to do it without spoilers.
Yeah. Well, he name
Most of
dropped.
his,
He name dropped
huh?
who, or he name dropped who he was serving, which was a Dark Side. I
Right.
mean, if you don't
But
know
but
anything about DC, you probably were going to overlook it and just not catch on. So, as far as like an outsider, he just kind of seemed like somebody who just showed up on his own and was the big bad. And now that he's done with, it's over with. You don't have to worry about anything else. Never mind his relative known as Darkseid.
yeah, and I remember when he dropped that, I was like, but will he? Will we have an appearance? That was my biggest question. I was like, will we have an appearance in this movie?
They probably
But
didn't go that route because people were afraid it was going to sound like, it was like, oh, this is too much like the Avengers. This is Loki serving the same person that made Thanos also made Darkseid, if I ain't mistaken. I'll do.
really,
Yeah, yeah. Um,
that's actually pretty cool. I didn't know that. Like Steppenwolf's biggest, like to me, the biggest parts of his whole character came in flashbacks.
okay, as far as like showing like he's been
he,
around for
yeah,
thousands of
like
years.
showing like he's a force to be reckoned with. Like I felt like I enjoyed the flashbacks more than, or like people telling the stories, this and that, more than what he did in some of the later scenes.
Yeah, he was very one note. So
Yeah.
okay, so I
So
stand corrected. Jack Kirby created Darkseid, and I think Darkseid came before Thanos, or before Thanos, excuse me. Oh, actually, no. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let me sit there and brush up on my nerd knowledge, which I should have had first of all. 1980. Jeff Starlin was but the person who created Darkseid. Pardon me. Or Jack. I'm saying Jack Kirby created Darkseid. Starlin created Thanos. So I was way off. So excuse me there. But back to Steppenwolf. I mean, like here I am sitting there already focusing on a different villain, and it's just like he's pretty forgettable. Like Steppenwolf as a
yes,
character.
yes,
He was very one
yes.
note. He was very just like there was nothing much to him. He was only there as a plot device to bring Justice League together, to show the action sequences, and get this over with.
So when I think about that, like him just being one note, I was hoping he was going to be more of a villain, like Ares from Wonder Woman, right?
Hmm.
Because he's Ares is kind of like the whole movie. You think of Ares as like one note, like all he's going to do is destroy, destroy, destroy. All that. And
I've
then when
kind
you
of felt he
finally,
was a little bit more complex compared to Steppenwolf, a little bit
yeah, he was definitely more complex. You know what I'm saying?
by
And
comparison. Yeah.
Steppenwolf, in his flashbacks, was more complex. Like he was outsmarting everybody. Then he was just brute strength, and he was just like brute strength in the movie. Because I'm not going to reveal the scenes. He had a few moments where, let's say, he might have outsmarted some people, right? But
I
for the most part, it was just like 1-on-1. Let's go. And I wanted to see him more powerful than that. Just a meager, I'm just gonna punch everything to death. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm doing my best till we get to the end, so I don't spoil anything.
All right then. Did you have any other comments before we get to the rating, and then we can do the spoilers if you wanted?
If there's a Justice League 2, they're gonna have to do better with Wonder Woman.
Do better?
Yeah,
Why you say that?
yeah. They're making To me, they were making Wonder Woman into a one-trick pony. And when I say that, in Wonder Woman's fights, we've seen Wonder Woman now as her own singular story arc, right?
Yeah.
Wonder Woman shows off multiple ways of combat in her own single film, and I know they can't just focus on one character, but when it really came down to it, Wonder Woman basically did one move, the whole movie.
Then with the bracelets?
Like she spammed bracelets. She spammed the bracelet. That's like playing somebody in a fighting game, and all they do is
Scorpions, get over here.
Yeah, the get over here, or
Ryu's fireball.
bingo, like that's it the whole way.
If it worked, you
Or
know.
like they just press B in a boxing game. They just press circle like the whole time and just hit you with like 400 jabs or like all hooks. Like that's what that was. Like it. Don't get me wrong. It looked cool each time. You know what I'm saying? It looked cool the first 3 times, but I was like, come on, Warren, like you're better than that.
Yeah. Well, she had some work with the
Every
lasso too, a little bit. She got to play around with that a little bit. And
yeah,
the
yeah,
sword
okay.
was a little, yeah, the sword was the sword and shield was okay. I think it was just more like when she used the bracelets and the lasso. I thought there was a little bit more dynamic when it came to stuff like that, or as far as her action
She
sequences.
Oh, that I give it that. But to me, she just spam the bracelets. That'd have been like Batman just on batarangs.
Well, he used guns. I mean, does that count?
Technically, he did spam that his
That
getaway free card.
that
Like,
grappling hook.
yeah, his grappling hook. He did spam that quite off, but that's how Batman gets around too. So
Yeah,
I kind of gotta give him a break.
yeah, it can't fly nowhere like
Uh,
everybody else.
yeah, because Wonder Woman can fly technically,
Technically, well, she
right?
jumps. She jumps good, like as Samurai Jack used to say.
Ah, she jumps good. Okay. Oh man, not Samurai Jack. Um, Cyborg. That was the disappointment for me.
I could see that.
That was the disappointment for me in the movie.
He,
I understood why they went that route. Like I understood character development wise, it made sense. So I'm not gonna knock him for portraying the role of a newly working out his identity.
right. And
You know,
yeah, and it's nothing against the actor. I'd probably say. I think it's just more they didn't really give him much to chew on as far as
yeah,
the role and what was being asked of that role, which was like as far as like a literal Deus ex machina, like I said, or as far as moving the plot along and like him being a machine or a part machine, and that in itself being a plot
booyah.
device.
That was his best scene. Booyah.
Yeah, I'm glad they sit there and threw that quote in there. I got a little
Yeah,
giddy off of that. It was like there's no reason I should have been like real hyped off of that, but yeah, there he was. He
I
said
did
it,
the same
and
thing. I
yeah,
did the same thing. They was like, "What's up with that?" I was like, "That's the line right there.
he said
That's
the
the
thing. He said the thing.
he said it. He did it. He did it. That was it. Nah, you don't get it. You're not gonna get it." So, so you wanna jump into? Did you have any thoughts on it?
Well, yeah, I kind of threw it a little bit in there. You can tell, like, some of the dialogue, as far as you can definitely tell that they were trying to liven things up a little bit, and which was kind of what I expected, even if Joss Whedon wasn't in charge of handling
Okay.
reshoots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because, like, as far as specifically with Dawn of Justice, it was like literally supposed to be like it's darkest before the dawn, and once
Mm-hmm.
Justice League arrives, that's when the dawn. That's pretty much the dawn
That's
right there, dawn
the
of
done.
justice. And things were going to be looking up as far as they got the characters that have been around and all grumpy and stuff like that in the previous movies. They kind of got the stick out of their butt now in this one, and everyone's a little bit more cheerful or a little more
Yeah.
positive or a little more like in like giving a damn about what it is that they're doing instead of being
Mm-hmm.
depressed. So I'm glad they at least made a change of pace. This is a step in the right direction, especially with these type of characters who are supposed to be, characters that you
Beacons of
are
hope.
they're supposed to inspire you, yeah, and be
Yeah.
filled with hope and all that. Um, this, So yeah, Joss Whedon comments. Comedy was good when it was played when it was where it needed to be. Had a pretty good
Mm-hmm.
pace towards it. Wasn't too crazy about how they assembled the team. Like it was pretty much like watching things on fast forward, but you kind of had to if you didn't have all these movies to set them up. Like say a Marvel.
I'm I'm not actually mad about that. I was actually cool with that. I was like, you know what? I know they're about to assemble this band. Come on, let's just make it quick so we can get to them gelling or fighting. I
Yeah,
was just like, I don't need 30 minutes of or 45 minutes of, hey, can we get this one person? Oh, let's go back 3 more times. They finally said yes. Some heartbreak happened. I was glad they just kind of nipped that in the bud. Was like, all right, fast forward through this. Boom, boom, boom.
right. So out of the 5 movies from the DC EU that came out, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, and Justice League. Where would you rank Justice League in that five?
Oh man. Okay. Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, Justice League. Ooh. Okay. Man of Steel's the last. I would make Justice League third or fourth out of the five.
This is in third or fourth best film.
Yes, third or fourth best film.
Okay, that's interesting. So you got So what do you got the top three then?
Wonder Woman.
Okay. Hey, but two others.
It's a toss-up. Yeah, I was thinking which one would I rank higher. I would probably say Suicide Squad as second, and then Batman vs Superman.
Wow, I went in a different direction. See, as far as the ranking goes, I had at fifth Batman v Superman, at fourth Suicide Squad, third place Man of Steel, second place Justice League, and first place Wonder Woman. So that it looks like the only thing we really agreed on was Wonder Woman being the best movie. Which I mean, pretty much anybody could agree with that.
Hands down, I think that's universal at this point.
Yeah.
The Man of Steel just wasn't for me. But I think for the reasons you don't like Batman vs Superman, I like Batman vs Superman.
It's not as bad as everybody made it out to be, but it was not. It's not good either.
But if it wasn't for Will Smith, I wouldn't have ranked Suicide Squad that high.
Very true. Yeah. I think.
That's the hard part. It's like if it wasn't for Will Smith and
Margot Robbie.
Is that her name?
Yeah, to play Harley Quinn. Yeah.
Yep. Those two saved that movie in so many ways. Like,
it was pretty much about them to begin with, anyway.
Yeah. So, like, if it wasn't for like just how well they did their characters, I would probably put that one as my last place movie.
Okay, then.
That's crazy.
Speaking of five, as far as this ranking system, what medal would you give Justice League? Now, we got at the highest, there's platinum. Below that, there's gold. Then there's silver. Then bronze. And then there's just trash.
Bronze.
You would give it a bronze. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I would have went with silver, like kind of middle of the road as far as like there was. I still walked away enjoying the movie. I can look back on it and find parts where I enjoyed the movie, but it still got flaws. But at the same time, as far as those flaws, it didn't take it down that much. And as far as just having my expectations that low, which is really bad to say now that I'm saying it out loud.
That's why it gets a bronze for me.
Okay.
Because my expectation was so low. Like, because I left the expectation like off and it was low, that
so you came in expecting it to be trash?
Like basically they did a great job. Like they put in great effort, right?
Okay.
But I'm not giving them the extra podium spot because they put in great effort and it was decent. You know what I'm saying? Like it was decent to good. Platinum was Wonder Woman for sure. Like
I probably would have gave that gold. Close. I probably would have gave that gold.
You would have gave Wonder Woman gold?
I would have put Wonder Woman at gold, yeah.
Who would have got platinum then? Or no one's got
no, not in these five. No, none of these five movies. No, I'm sorry.
Okay. I was thinking out of the five movies.
No.
One of them would have got platinum. Oh, okay. Then this is universal system then. I'll still go bronze. I'll still go bronze because platinum's gonna be the elite movies.
Yeah. Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
Did you want to sit there and to discuss the spoilers, or are we good right here?
Yeah. You call it. I can talk spoilers. I'm ready to go whichever way.
All right then. F it.